Welcome back once again to howtocookgreatfood.com. If you haven't already, it'd be fantastic if you could click that button and subscribe to our channel. On the menu today, we're going to be making some garlic bread. I've had loads and loads of emails about this, and yeah, of course there's loads of different ways of making it. So we're going to do a few of them just today, just a few different sort of variants. Let's just take a look at a few ingredients. Obviously, we're going to need some form of bread. Now, you can use any bread at all. You can use like a French stick. You could use sliced bread if you want, or a ciabatta, or like this one. The version we're going to do with this one, the first one, is we're going to kind of cut that open and stick it in and sort of bake it together. So kind of pull apart garlic bread. But yeah, any type of bread. Butter. You could use a salted or an unsalted butter. I use unsalted generally. We're just going to melt that down. Now, alternatively, if you want to keep it vegan or just give it a different vibe and you've got some vegan bread, you can use olive oil. Again, I'll show you one of those a bit later. Garlic, of course, the garlic and the bread, that's what it is. So I've got a ton of garlic there that I've just minced up nice and small. I've got here some fresh parsley. That's always nice, and we're going to use some of that in a couple of the versions. We've also got some dried oregano or oregano. Or you could use a kind of mixed Italian kind of herb, some black pepper, and then alternatively I've got a couple of cheeses here. I've got some cheddar and I've got some mozzarella, another version we can use with those. So let's get started on this fellow first and then we'll move on. So for this pull apart baked garlic bread, you're going to need a kind of a loaf. I've got this kind of round one here. Lots of different types you could use, anything you like. In fact, you need a serrated knife or a bread knife. Or simply we're going to cut the bread down, but not all the way through. So give it some kind of slices just to sort of open it out, but we're not going all the way through there. Don't forget that, guys. So we've got some nice generous thick slices happening. So we've kind of opened it out like that, but obviously the bottom's still intact. Now we're going to turn it around and we're going to do the same on the other side. So we're kind of creating all these little pieces here. So I'm going all the way down, but just leaving the bottom crust intact. There we are. So it's really opened out now. So let's get that back together. Right, the next step is we're going to make our garlic and butter mixture. I'm going to use this with butter today and cheese in this one. So let's move on to that stage. Okay, so I've got a bowl here with some melted butter. Like I say, I'm using an unsalted butter. And what we're going to do is put a nice generous amount of garlic in there. I mean, the amount you put in is up to you, isn't it? I'm going to put in a little bit of black pepper. Now, I'm not going to add any salt because usually your bread's got quite a bit of salt in it. And if you're going to add cheese, that's also going to have some in there as well. So here's some dried oregano or oregano. And like I say, you could use a Italian type mix of spice or, you know, some basil or whatever. That's up to you. Then I'm going to go in with some parsley. I've got some flat leaf parsley there that I'm going to get into that. Simply I'm going to give that a little mix. I've got a nice brush here, which I use quite a bit. We're going to get that in, mix that around. And we're done, that's it. So the next step for us to do now is to get that on and in our bread. We're going to put some cheese in it and then we're going to pop that in the oven. Let's go and do the next bit. Okay, so I've got our bread now, which we cut nicely and opened out like that. Now that's on some aluminium or tin foil or aluminium foil, yeah, because we're going to cover this over and pop this in the oven, so it's better to put that on now, because what we're going to do is add our garlic butter to it, and it might sort of drip everywhere. If it drips in there, that's great, because we can kind of keep it in there. So all we've got to do is simply open it out and just kind of work it in there. Like I say, a little brush is good. If you haven't got if you don't have a kitchen brush like this, a pastry brush, you can use a regular paintbrush. As long as it's clean and new, obviously. So that's it. We're just going to go through and dab in and try and brush on in every area that we can. So let me do this. It's going to take a couple of minutes and then I'll be back. There we are. As you can see, I've got that in there. I've worked it all in, brushed it in as all the edges that I can. It's fantastic. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some cheese. I've got some cheddar cheese and I'm going to use mozzarella and cheddar in this. So again, I'm just going to get in there, poke a little bit of cheese into the holes as well, you know, into those gaps, get them in like every little gap that we can. And like I say, I'm going to do this with cheddar and mozzarella today. You can do it with any cheese. I mean, you could put some parmesan in there or some blue cheese, gorgonzola or something like that would be fantastic. But yeah, any cheese you like, I suppose. Probably not that spray on cheese. That stuff is really disgusting. Don't go near that, guys. So look, there you go. That's the cheddar done. I'm going to follow through now with some mozzarella in the other gaps. Now what you need to do now is you need to get your oven on. Now, all ovens are very different. I always say this about every single thing I cook in an oven. My oven's really powerful. We've got a kind of industrial type kitchen here, so the ovens are really pretty hardcore. So, get your oven as hot as you can. This is my advice. Get it as hot as you can. Everything here is done, isn't it? You know what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to get this all melted and come together. So, full blast. Then what we're going to do is cover this in foil. This is looking absolutely wonderful, by the way. And then it's going to go in my oven just for about 10 minutes max. Then it will come out and it's just going to be absolutely divine. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, simple thing, isn't it? Garlic bread. That's about it. I think that's kind of looking okay. Now with the foil that we've got now, let's just bring it together like that. And kind of push it back into its kind of original shape if you can, guys. That is looking pretty good. I've got a little gap on the top which I don't want, so let's now get that on. So that's going to go in the middle shelf of my oven on full blast, about 8 to 10 minutes. See when it comes out. Okay, let's take a look at this now. Let's just get that top one off. Here we go. Careful to get any little bits of... See that? That was stuck on there. Be careful to pull those off. Well, that is looking great. Now, with this pull-apart bread, it's quite soft. It's still very soft. It's a little bit toasty, but because we covered it, it's not going to be completely toasty. You could now, if you want, pop that back in the oven like that and give it a little bit of a grill there if you want to kind of toughen it up a bit there. But for me, this is beautiful because it's kind of, like I say, it's all very sort of soft inside. You've got all that cheese, all that butter. So simple. That's it for that one, really. Delicious. Great for sharing. Should we do another one? Okay, so here we go. French stick or baguette, whatever you call it. Probably the most famous of garlic bread, I think, but it's a bit strange. But yeah, so let's cut this up into different ways. So what we can do is we can cut this right down the middle. We can open it right up and just... There you go. That's kind of how you normally see it with this stuff. What we can do again, we've got our butter. We know about that already, don't we? So again, you can choose to put a fresh herb in there, or the dried herb. So let's do both. So there's our butter. Let's get some fresh parsley in there. I quite like that. I'm using oregano or oregano as well today. Bit of black pepper. Like I say, I'm not going to add any salt. Give that a mix. And then simply, you can just put this straight on and that can go straight into an oven. Right, let's do a few types. So let me cut this down the middle. So for all of these, we are going to put on our garlic butter. Nice and generous, you know, do a bit down the sides as well. And you can add a few other bits to this if you want. Maybe add a little bit of touch of chilli if you like. You can play around with it. I mean, it's not particularly a completely traditional thing. I suppose the most traditional garlic bread there is, and I don't even know if this is true actually, but it would be just kind of a pizza base with a touch of garlic butter on it and then sort of popped in the oven, you know. That's kind of, I actually remember pizza garlic bread from sort of pizza places or Italian places. I'm not actually sure if they even eat it that much. It might be a kind of Western thing that they've sort of adapted. Right, so we can use, let's say these two, pop them straight in the oven like that on a metal tray. Again, nice and hot. It's all cooked, isn't it? We just kind of need to kind of brown it a little bit. And then let's do another couple with, you know, some cheese. So, like I say, we've got a bit of mozzarella here. On they go. I don't suppose you need that much cheese on these really, just a little bit over the top. Tiny little bit of oregano on those. And again, on a metal tray, get your oven nice and hot, pop them in. I mean, it's cheese on toast really, isn't it? Let me do that. Okay, while those cheese and non-cheese ones are in the oven, we can just do another one which is very similar to the first one we've done. So I've got a bit of baguette. We're going to cut it down, but not all the way down. This time we're not going to do a crisscross, we're just doing that. So not all the way down, just there. And again, we need to open it out, get our garlic butter inside. There you go. Into each part. And then I'm just going to wrap this in a little bit of silver foil, tin foil, cooking foil, there's so many names for it, isn't it? Aluminium foil. Just going to wrap it around in that and then just pop it in the oven again. It's not going to take long at all, a few minutes. And then finally I'm just going to do one just with olive oil, which I think works really well. And like I say, if you're vegan and you're not into your dairy products, obviously you don't need to be using butter. Look, I'm just going to sort of brush a bit on the top of that as well, which I think is great. Then that works really well. Again, if you wanted, you could put some cheese on that. You could sprinkle some cheese again inside or on top. I'm just going to go straight like that. Let me pop that in the oven as well. Be back in a moment. We'll do that olive oil one. So yeah, for the kind of vegan-y one, or the non-dairy olive oil, try and use a nice quality olive oil. Touch of oregano, touch of the parsley, of course the garlic, and let's get loads in there. I'm only going to make this one small piece of bread actually. I mean, you don't have to be a vegan to eat this. This is actually really delicious anyway, so slightly more healthy. Okay, so I've just got that little bit of... Now we can do this either way. We can cut it down. I'm cutting it open. We could cut it that way and do what we've done and wrap it, but just for this video I'm just going to cut them like that, and just really simply we're going to get that on there. Really basic ingredients, but fantastic. Like I say, you certainly do not need to be a vegan to eat this. This is delicious. I mean, by the way, this is not a vegan bread. So look, I mean, you can't get any more simple than that. So again, I'm going to pop that in the oven. Again, full blast. Treat it the same as the other ones that we've done. Back in a few minutes. They should all be done then. There you go. Straight out of the oven. So they're the ones that we've done with butter. The butter mix, but no cheese. And they're the ones with cheese. So simple, of course. I'm just waiting for the olive oil ones. They're in the oven now. As well as the one with butter that we cut that way down. So back in a moment. Okay, job done. There they go. So there's the one, obviously, the one we cut down that way. You can do it that way with the stick. These are the ones with the olive oil. These are the ones with the cheese open. These are the ones with the butter open. I can't show you the other one that we, the big one that we've done, because as I finished it, the guys in the office started eating it. So there you go. That just shows you how good it is. But so simple. Use any bread you like. Play around with it. Bit of cheese, depending on what cheese you like. Different herbs and spices. So simple. Garlic bread. What can I say? Hope that's answered a few of your questions, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new to us. And we'll see you soon. Lots of love. Not bad at all.